Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Elise's Eats, and today I am so excited for multiple reasons. 1, finished exams. 2, Flavia's free so we can hang out for a long time. And in Australia we have recently had Caramilk come back out. I have held myself off until after exams to eat this, and it is majestic. And I thought, what can we make that would do this justice? And I was like, Caramilk Macarons. Because we haven't done something like that in a while, and it takes a long time to make. That's what we're doing today. Let's do it! So these are the ingredients you're going to need. So you'll need 80 grams of old egg whites. So I cracked these about 3 days ago, covered them in Glad wrap and left them in the fridge. Just put a few holes in the Glad wrap as well. This just helps to froth up your meringue quite a lot. 200 grams of caster sugar, 50 milliliters of water, 200 grams of sifted icing sugar. Now I'm using pure icing sugar. You do have to be careful because if you use like an icing mixture, it might have corn flour or something else in the mix. You want pure icing sugar, and it has to be sifted. 70 grams of fresh egg whites that I just cracked today, and these are at room temperature. 200 grams of filtered almond meal. Now the one thing you want to be careful with is do not just buy 200 grams because with almond meal there are a few chunks, as you can see when I sieve mine. You want to go at least 250 grams before you sieve it because you're going to throw some away. And you want to do this because otherwise you have chunks in your macarons and you don't want that. For the filling, you're going to need 150 milliliters of thickened cream, 400 grams of Caramilk chocolate. Now this is, as you can see, caramelized white chocolate. It is amazing and it's so yummy and I just love it. About half a teaspoon of vanilla bean paste. That's optional, but I like it. And then I'm using powdered food coloring. Because we want it to be kind of caramelly colored, I'm going for a mixture of orange and brown. So what we're going to do first is make our caramilk filling. So we're going to take our caramilk, thickened cream and vanilla bean paste and have a little saucepan to the stove. Let's go. Oh, my ankle cracked. Woo. You ready? Whoa.
Can I crack some?
Yeah.
Can I eat some?
So we're putting the caramilk, thickened cream and vanilla bean in a small pot and putting it on a low heat to melt slowly until it's fully melted. Now you can make the caramilk filling about a day before you make your macarons to make the process a bit quicker. We're doing it all because we're filming. And what we're going to do while that's melting is we're going to make our sugar syrup for our meringue. Now this little bit is a little bit technical. We're going to put it in a small saucepan on a medium-high heat, allow it to bubble to 117.5 degrees Celsius, then put it in a little bit of cold water just to stop the heating process, and then put it into our old egg whites. Now I would recommend using a candy thermometer. You can eyeball it, but macarons are really, really technical, and every single time I use this, so highly recommend getting one of these bad boys. When you add your water to your sugar and you're going to stir it, just make sure not to put any sugar along the sides of the pan, just because this can burn unevenly compared to the rest of the sugar, crystallize and form hard lumps in your macarons, which you don't like. If you do notice any sugar crystals up along the edge, just use a pastry brush to wipe it down with a little bit of water. But again, don't add too much water because you need this certain consistency. Macarons are really technical, and trust me, it's going to take you a couple times to nail it, so they're just a finicky cookie. So as soon as our sugar syrup gets to 117.5 degrees Celsius, I'm going to dunk it into this water, then put it to the side, and I'm going to wait until no bubbles are forming in the in the syrup. Then I'm going to add them into my egg whites that we've been fluffing up for about a minute. Now, okay, follow me. It will steam. That's enough to stop it. Look at that steam. Just gonna need a thing. See, normally we'd edit this, but this is very time critical, everyone. There's still a few bubbles being made, so we're gonna let that sit for about half a minute. Whisk your old egg whites just to make them slightly foamy. You need to use a metal bowl for this because it helps conduct the heat away from the eggs and cool them down quicker. Make sure it is clean and there's no dust or water in the bowl before doing this because it can affect your meringue. You can use a glass bowl. I personally never have, so you may need to beat them for longer or just be aware of that. Then add a small amount of the hot sugar syrup, whisk it up until it becomes white and foamy. Then slowly add the rest of the sugar syrup to the egg whites. If any sugar syrup has made it on the edges, just scrape it down. Then we're going to mix this on a high setting for about 10 to 15 minutes until the meringue is nice and glossy and has reduced in size and is not hot to the touch. Now our caramilk filling is done, so I'm just going to pour it into a small container and place it into the fridge until we're ready to use it, or until it thickens. Whilst the meringue is beating, I'm just going to whisk together the almond meal and pure icing sugar, and then I'm going to divide it between two bowls because I've got a really cool idea to decorate this. So we've just finished beating our meringue and it's completely cool to the touch. You'll notice if you touch the metal bowl when you first have the sugar syrup in, it's going to be very hot, and after the 10 minutes or so, because it aerates and gets nice and fluffy and cools down, you can touch the metal bowl and it should be cold, or at least room temperature. It should not be warm. If it still is warm, keep beating. So what I think would be really cute to decorate these macarons, because caramilk is a mixture of white chocolate and caramel, to do kind of an orangey brown and white swirly macaron. So I basically halved all the ingredients. I've halved the meringue, which is about 125 grams each. This will depend as well. Use your kitchen scale. So you just want to halve everything right down the middle. Now the reason I suggest you do this before is because if you weigh out exactly 125 grams of meringue in this one, but you turn out to have less or more in this side and you've already started making this one, then it's going to be uneven and the macarons can come out slightly not perfect. And that's not what you want with a macaron. Very technical cookies. We're going to put our fresh egg whites into our mixture, and then with a little paddle scoop, this is something I bought from a kitchen shop, we're going to mix it together until it's all a nice thick almond paste. Now you want to be careful not to press too violently at first because the mixture will go everywhere. You always want to make sure to scoop under. So now I'm going to add about 1/3 of my egg white to this. This is basically just to loosen up the almond meal mixture. And if you add all of your egg white here, you're going to deflate them and they're not going to be nice and fluffy. But you can see this is becoming a lot lighter and easier to work with. Now this is why I use this kind of a paddle, just because it perfectly goes around the bowl and I can lift it up and move it quite easily. Just one tip as well, you're constantly wanting to scrape this down as well, just to make sure you get everything. Now we're going to add the rest of our meringue and very gently fold it in. Again, this is something that comes with a lot of practice. You want to very gently kind of just fold it over each other. Now, a good way to kind of gauge if you've done it enough is do about 50 scoops. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can count up to 50. I just know the consistency because I've done it quite a lot. I'll try to show you what it is, but you definitely want to make sure everything's mixed in but you want it to still be nice and fluffy. And remember, fold it together. Don't push or try to get any excess air out. Now, of course, you can use a spatula or a plate scraper to do this, but I do prefer these little handheld ones just because you have a bit more control of your mixture. So it's nice, smooth, and airy. And you know what? It's going to take you a few times to really get it, but you just want to make sure it looks uniform throughout. Like there's no lumps, no unmixed bits or anything like that. I'm just adding it like this because the brown food coloring, it's got a mixture of red and green in it. I don't want it to streak throughout the macaron, so I'm just trying to mix this together beforehand to get a nice brown caramel color. So for my piping tip, I'm using an 11mm circular piping tip. I'm just using a large piping bag, and I'm using circles that are about 3 centimeters in diameter. You can get these off the internet, just go macaron template. So we have our white and we have our caramel colored fillings. I've just got some cling wrap here. So we're going to take the caramel mixture and put a line here, then the white mixture. Can I just do a few lines and then roll it up, put it into our piping bag with our 11mm circular tip, and then we're going to pipe. Now, once you've piped your macarons, you just want to either use your hand against the base of the tray and knock it evenly just to get out any air bubbles, or you can tap your tray on the countertop. This is just to get any air bubbles to rise to the surface, and then with a toothpick, you just carefully pop them. Once you've popped the air bubbles, place the macaron shells aside and allow them to sit for about 20 or so minutes until they form a hardened skin, or at least they're not gooey to the touch. So as you can see, these ones have been sitting out for about 20 minutes. I can touch them, whereas we've just piped these ones and you can see they're still shiny. They need to look dull on the surface before you bake them. Once your macarons have set for about 20 minutes and they're no longer shiny, we're gonna put them in a preheated oven at 145 degrees Celsius. Don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. We'll put it somewhere here right now. Thank you, Flavia. For about 10 to 11 minutes. Now, everyone's oven is gonna differ. It took me about 3 attempts to figure out my oven. For me, it's exactly between 10 to 11 minutes. You want to be able to lift the shell out without any of the base sticking. They're just trial and error, but between 10 to 11 minutes.
Hi.
Hi. So our macaron shells are now nice and cool. They're cool to the touch, can pick them up quite easily. And I didn't have them in longer for 11 minutes. You could probably push it to 11 and a half minutes, but if you go longer than that, they're gonna get really crunchy, and then they're not gonna have that beautiful sinking teeth into it feel. They're gonna be quite crunchy, which isn't a bad thing, but you just have to get used to your own oven. And once they're completely cooled, they should come off like this. If they don't, that means you've undercooked them and you need to let them cook for another half a minute to a minute in the oven. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put our caramel filling into a piping bag, and we're going to match up our little macaron shells, put them together, and then fill them with our caramel filling, and then sandwich them. Now at this point, you want to put them in the fridge for between 24 to 48 hours to mature properly. This means that the filling is going to kind of soften the shells and make them beautiful and perfect. Of course, you can eat them right now, but they might be slightly hard on the shell and they won't be perfect. But you know what? Go for it. But if you're giving them to someone as a present or for a party, definitely make them the day ahead. So all up, we got about 55, maybe 60 macarons, depends on how big you make them. But they're so pretty. No, I have to wait for Flavia to eat them. Okay guys, so that's how you make my Caramilk Macarons, and they look so cute. I love these. They came out better than I expected, and not gonna lie, I already tried the filling. Ooh, it's good. But yeah, so I just say we eat because I know Flavia's obsessed with caramilk as well. So let's just do it. It kind of reminds me of latte art in a sense.
Oh,
She's
they
like,
do,
latte.
yeah.
Caramilk.
They
You're
are
putting the
super
milk
cute.
in caramel. Caramilk.
Caramel. Wow, you are quite the linguist.
Thanks. At least I can cook.
Yeah.
Damn. I'm kind of speechless. They are so good.
I kind of like them more than the Galaxy with the salted caramel. There's something about the caramel, I don't know what it is.
It's just beautifully creamy, and it's just
happy.
It's just everything that you could want.
Thank you, Cadbury, for bringing Caramilk back into our lives.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I'm so happy.
This is just heaven. Oh my God.
Yum.
Hey
guys, thanks for watching this video.
Like and subscribe if you want to see more.
And leave a comment in the section below so that we can make something you've always wanted to eat. Because I love it.
Bye.
Preferably anime or something TV related or something like that, or something awesome game related.